Like a couple of little things about
Sure.
it that
So
you could talk to about
the
it?
good news and bad news is that, of course, we're 1 year into a 3-year project, and so we've begun to realize some of the things we talked about last time, but there's a lot of stuff, of course, is still very fuzzy. So
Obviously,
there's no point
anything you
talking about
say
that.
is not in stone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, even the things I will say could change. But
Right.
and I'm going to repeat some of the things that you probably heard me say before, but maybe with a little bit more saliency. And so, by the way, feel free to ask questions too. But I'll just give you like a little update first, which is that like I've said, we think that M&P games are 3-year endeavors, big and very expensive, and so with that also comes a very new development process approach. So if you think about, for example, Ultima Online or even Lineage, since we know those guys very well obviously now, and talk about how we developed some of these first generation big MMPs, frankly they were all hacked together, and which mostly because they were underfunded, very little corporate focus or corporate attention, and you just did what you could, piecemealing stuff together. But of course, that's also the kiss of death from the launch and support side of a game, as we learn things like UO, where these code bases need to be expandable and sustainable for very long periods of time, and that was not what we had crafted originally with those games. And so our approach to development in Tabula Rasa is very different than we've ever had before in my history of experience, but is much more like what you would see in banking or even probably at some areas of Microsoft or big engineering firms. And what I mean by that is that we have not hacked in any piece of code to make a milestone or to make a demonstration of any particular feature to anybody outside the team. Occasionally we'll do something to prototype something for ourselves to fine-tune it, but really the code base is being very methodically constructed and not rushed, so to speak. And in particular, we do things like we have code reviews with every module where somebody's going to go do pathfinding. Literally, we'll have a meeting at the beginning and say, okay, what are the important aspects of pathfinding? What's it going to connect to? How is the code generally going to be structured? Then the coder will go off with that spec in hand and actually write the code. And at the end of him writing that code, part of the check-in process is he'll come to a code review. Literally, even Starlong, the director, who's not even a programmer, will sit down and do a code review to make sure the code is accommodated, make sure the structure is well documented, and so that people 5 or 10 years from now will be able to touch this code and use it. And so then in addition, one of the milestone we just passed, we've just passed a milestone called Walk and Talk. And what that meant was we have our editors fundamentally functional. We have the client primitive done. We have the server primitive done. And now, one of the best things, one of my things I'm most excited about our development process is that we're building it in such a way that for the rest of the development of the project, there is an icon on my desktop and my brother Robert's desktop and pretty much anybody else in the company that wants an account, to where when you click on it, it goes to the patch server and it loads the latest patch as you would in live. And every night, the code is automatically compiled. That the version is automatically sent over to QA. QA does a regression test on it every morning, and only when they approve it does it go to the patcher. And so hopefully from starting last month to the end of this game, we will have a running version at all times, which will also mean that it should be extremely bug-free. Should be, we'll see. And in theory, this will save us time, down the road when we won't have to be going back and touching things quite as much, in theory. And but the first year of a project is frankly the easy time. It's the time when it's very easy for things to go well. It's very exciting to have things come out very quickly. But for us, we're very excited because we're now at the point in the project where we can really begin to do things like create final artwork. All the stuff we've been doing so far, since we didn't have an editor, was created in 3D tools, but impossible to really organize together in a real map and walk around in it and see things like that. So, it's doing very well. And again, it's not period, but it also does not include spaceships and lightsabers and blasters.
Right.
So that's why I said it's an alternative reality as far as
I think that's more close to what we
we've been talking. We have on a list with like a whole bunch of people. We always talk about what it's going to be. It's on the old UO2 list.
Right, exactly.
Now, one of the
We're still moping about that.
one of the things that's been talked about in the past is like a theme park type scenario, quest system.
Well, in fact, we use the word theme park a lot, but a lot of people misunderstand it when they say it. Immediately they go, "So is this gonna be like a theme park with rides you get on or something?" I say, no. That's not. That we use the theme park metaphor as a metaphor in the following way, which is, if you think about solo player games, one of the great things about solo player games compared to the current multiplayer games is solo player games that have a plot. You know, you play by yourself. Every new feature you see, you're the first person to see it because nobody else has seen them at all. Mm-hmm. And so you go like, wow, there's some cool new thing the game does. And every time it's, wow, there's something else new cool the game does. And in the end, you can become the hero who saves the day, or you have the pinnacle of existence because that's the way the game was designed. And of course, you're blissfully unaware of your next door neighbor playing the same game, thinking that he's the most special person. And if you need a clue, you'll have to call him up and ask for help. And you're not spoiled. It doesn't spoil your experience to know that he thinks he's the avatar, even though you know you're the avatar. And but of course, in solo player games, you go alone. And almost everyone I've known through the history of, say, Ultimas has wished that they could at least take a couple of their real friends along as or instead of Shamano or Dupre or Yolo or whoever else. Wouldn't it be great if I could have a buddy at least come do this with me? And the great part about massively multiplayer is you can take your buddies. In fact, you can take all your buddies and then some, which is a good thing in many ways in the sense of the social interaction in online games is extremely powerful, and is why they're selling so well already. However, it also misses a lot of what's been taking place in the solo player games. For example, your life is, on average, fairly average. You know what I mean? And kind of by definition. Mm-hmm. And so, that's kind of disappointing. There's, everybody can't be the one person who saves the day. In fact, even if you wrote a quest of that, only one person would win it, and that would only be relevant to 1 out of 1,000,000 people. So, who cares? And in my mind, that's a big flaw in the design of the current generation of online games, is that, you don't feel very heroic. Usually, even if you get sent on some cool quest, there's 5 people in front of you and 5 people behind you on the same quest. And so in my mind, that was one of the principal things we're trying to solve with this theme park metaphor. Okay. And what I mean by that is, think about a theme park where, when you're walking around in the main part of the theme park, it's massively multiplayer. You see people all around you. But when you get on one of those rides, you get in your little car, like the Peter Pan ride at Disney World. You get in your little boat with your 4 friends and family, and then your little pirate ship boat goes and flies over Neverland, and you're blissfully unaware of the other pirate ships flying over Neverland. I mean, of course, if you think about it, you can see them, but the whole point is to pay attention to the ride, not the other people. And so it's like you've been given your own version of Neverland temporarily. And so that's what we're doing with this game. We're saying that there is a massively multiplayer hub for the world, but all of the adventures, not just part of the adventures, but every moment of each adventure is in a custom crafted scenario for you and your friends.
Sort of like the Anarchy Online missions,
but see, Anarchy Online did things like said, well, go pick up the socks out of this guy's drawer, and when you ran across town and you went to the house, yes, the interior of the house was custom for you, and there was the guy's socks in the drawer. But that's not at all what we're talking about. First of all, we're not talking about things that are randomly generated here. We're talking about things like, if you remember Quest of the Avatar, the entire Honesty Quest, the entire Compassion Quest, the entire Justice Quest, to where there is basically a portal. Part of the fiction of the game involves the gateways, you might consider them, into these adventures, where once you're off on these adventures, you're on a scripted series, an entire scenario that is crafted for a party of 4, we'll call it. And then if another party of 4 comes to that same gateway, they'll go on their own custom instantiation, just like they had bought a retail game as a group before and playing it together as a group before. Follow my drift?
Yeah. Now, are you?
So we think the experiences will be just as powerful as solo player games.
When you say as if they bought a retail version, are you looking at bringing real money into it, where you would have to come in and buy the scenario?
No, okay. I just meant from a style of play. Okay. And although real money in games is another issue that I'd love to toy with, but not in this game. Okay. So that combination. Oh, and one other thing I was going to say too about these instantiated adventures is that one of the other fun things about online games is sometimes you actually do want to run into some stranger group, right? But in most online games, it actually happens to be too much, and it happens to be wrong time. Versus, it actually might be fun to be doing an Indiana Jones scenario where when you get to the final room, there's another group. You know what I mean? Oh, shoot, we got to fight for the final thing. That would be fun if it's done by plan. And the nice thing about the way we're doing this is we can have the red entrance to an adventure and the green entrance from the designers know it's the red entrance and the blue entrance. It won't be known to you guys. But you go in the red entrance, then what we're going to do is right as you get to the final room, we're going to introduce another group that is coming through another entrance. You know what I mean? And we can design scenarios to create interactions between groups by plan, not by accident.
Okay.
Make sense? And we'll, of course, also be able to create scenarios, whatever you might consider capture the flag scenarios or gladiator combat, whatever it is that are more free-for-all between groups or in areas, or the killing fields, or the woods to go get lost in. But what we're trying to create, if you think about a theme park again, I'll use Disney World as my primary metaphor. Disney World is like a wagon wheel. I mean, there's easy crisscross accesses, including like tram cars you can take from side to side, and the train that goes right around the outside, and the inner walkway that goes around the outside. Navigating Disney World is not hard. When you get off of one fun ride and you go, wow, Space Mountain, really cool, let's go do Pirates of the Caribbean. It's very easy for you to find your way over to Pirates of the Caribbean. It does not take a long time, and it is not a navigational problem. Yet, on the other hand, if you want to get lost, you go over to Tom Sawyer's Island, which is an area is a little maze through the woods and caves and other things. So it's a place where you're going to go and explore. And so that's also what we're trying to do with this theme park metaphor, to say, look, the primary game world should not be taxing for you to go, hey, I know what I want to do. Let me go do it. I want to go on a short 30-minute Pirates of the Caribbean kind of thing. Great, well, there it is. You want to go on the 4-hour scenario Quest of the Avatar honesty portion? Okay, here's the entrance. Let people navigate the world easily and let them decide on what kind of play experience they're prepared for right now, short, long, aggressive, passive, and then let them go off on those adventures with their friends.
Will there be unlimited entrances to this, or are there going to be lines like there are in a theme park?
Unlimited, yeah. So the reason why, of course, theme parks get lines is because they have a rate of feed that is designed by the meters by the ride. In our case, of course, it's once you walk through the gateway, you're gone, and the gateway's available. And if for some reason there was so many people slewing into a ride that actually we needed 2 entrances, we can easily create a duplicate entrance of the same thing somewhere else in the park.
One thing about MMOs is the sense of like community building, like especially like in UO where you have housing and you create like player cities. The same thing that they're doing with the Star Wars game. Are you planning on like things like that where there's a sense of ownership within
Absolutely.
the game?
No, I agree that property ownership, broadly spoken, be it pets or houses or whatever it is, or your character's equipment, is an incredibly sticky aspect of MMOs. It's important to keep. We do plan, on pets at some point and housing at some point and all those things that you guys know. Well, housing we'll have straight out. But I don't remember if we're going to have pets in literally episode 0 or 1, however you count it. Okay. But another theorem that we're prescribing or subscribing to with Tabula Rasa is what I'll call something we learned from the Lineage guys. When Lineage launched in Korea, it launched with 1 island, 2 character classes you could play, maybe 4 or 5 monsters, very low-level equipment. But the gameplay dynamic, the actual combat system for its day and its style and everything else was very sound. And there was enough content to where maybe it didn't really last you 3 months. Maybe it was only what we'll call a month's worth of content for the hardcore players. But of course, you can never make content fast enough for the true hardcore players. We'll call it about a month's worth of content before people began to see other things twice or need to rely on socialization or interpersonal combat or things for fun. But then what they did is they spent the first 3 months developing an entire another continent, a castle that you could own that goes with it, 4 more new monsters, a whole other character class, a whole new branch of equipment, etc. And every quarter they've released another piece like that, a whole new continent, a whole other castle you can own and control the territory with, a whole new set of monsters, whole new sets of art for the towns and stuff of that nature, etc. And so they've been on this great discipline of every quarter there's a new episode. And the episode improves the game substantially. Even though it's no more work than we did with, say, UO or EQ, because, they've got a similar sized team doing similar amount of work, but versus just trickling out little features here and there one at a time when they get them, They literally save them up, do bug fixes immediately if needed, but then do quarterly episodes that they're advertised like crazy. So everyone knows all the new content's coming on at the end of the quarter. So instead of just being, if you just happen to be online, you got to see the stuff first, you could plan to be there at its release. And so you can watch the usage numbers for Lineage that right at the quarterly release. Everybody who's already a subscriber comes back in because they know it's going to be fresh.
Right.
And since they're going to go back in, they're going to call both their friends who are already players and bring in a few more new people. And so it's a really intelligent marketing strategy that we also plan to do with Tabula Rasa. So we are big believers in fact, let me give you a counterpoint. With UO, we try to do everything in UO prior to shipment, because of course when you ship a retail game, you're not going to change it once you ship it in any significant way, without really patching pain and pissing everybody off. And so there are tons of things we put in UO which were frankly useless. For example, the virtual ecology, which no one even noticed. And so it was a huge amount of work that was literally just thrown away.
I'm reading about that, but that was really cool.
Well, conceptually, as a designer, it was great.
If you'd been able to see it.
If you could have seen it. But yeah, there were just so many people running around killing everything. It was a waste of time. And so we're big believers now also, and the nice thing about the Lineage model is you ship with a really fun game that's well contained. Combat has got to be good. Advancement has got to be good. But whether there's 10 monsters or 20 monsters, you don't care for the first 3 months. 10's enough. And even if you kill them all and wish you had more, you're always going to wish you had more. So, 10, we'll get another 10 next quarter, and another 10 the next quarter.
I assume you're planning every quarter. This is just downloaded. You don't pay for it.
That's correct. No paying for episodes.
Sell the blades.
Or I guess it's the opposite of that one, isn't it?
Give away the blades to sell lasers.
Something like that.
Well, you're making money on monthly content.
Oh no, I guess so.
So you're giving away the product.
Right. Yeah. So let's give away the razors and the blades.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, that doesn't work.
I found also something similar to that with their monthly. It's like 3 months.
But the reason why I think that 3 months is about right, and first of all with Lineage they've kind of tested it. They've actually had episodes come as close together as a month, and they've been as far apart as 6 months. And you can tell that 6 months is too long because you begin to see it fall off in the usage rate, not the subscribers, but at least the time online goes down after about 4 months. So 4 months is about as long as you want. But anything faster than 3 months doesn't really seem to help because you don't have time to make an event out of the relaunch. There's not enough content accumulated. You can't advertise somebody very often before they get I'm used to it. And a quarterly to 4 month kind of cycle really feels like it's about right.
Chance to explore the entire.
Right. Now everybody gets on the beginning quarter. Everybody revels in the new features simultaneously. They don't feel like they got left behind because they got to see it last. And then when they
It's a win-win situation.
Right.
It's really good.
This market is a lot different from single player. I mean, this is essentially going into the ISP business.
Right. Well, yeah. In fact, NCSoft is an ISP in Korea. In fact, it's the biggest ISP in Korea. It has the biggest internet service node in the country.
Wow.
Same thing is true in Taiwan. In fact, when Lineage launched in Taiwan, it crashed the internet in Taiwan. Hong Kong is also now growing. It's almost as big as Taiwan, I believe. And now we're even spreading into mainland China. In Japan, we're closing rapidly on surpassing UO. The toughest area for Lineage has been the United States, which is because it's a more mature market. It's got more competition here.
So we heard there's like 12,000 players on the English service.
Something like that.
Familiar thing.
We're not going to repeat that.
No, it's modestly. We make no bones about it. So we knew it was going to be a challenge to get Lineage 1
It's a
adopted.
different game. Where the different cultures too, what they like. The different, like the.
Well, I think that the fundamental gameplay dynamic, the castle sieges, like for example, I think it's an amazingly brilliant stroke it will do just as well here in the States as it did in Korea, but you have to get there. And it's getting there that is
I know
fun enough.
it's been improved a lot. I haven't tried it yet.
But by the way, I still don't think it's there. Personally, I don't think it's there. Which is,
I haven't tried it yet.
By the way, we're still working on that. I mean, the castle siege issue of being able to own a castle, set the taxation rate in that entire continent that was one of those episodes. Set it too high, people don't trade in your territory. Set it too low, you don't generate enough money to defend your castle. No one group guilds or blood pledges are never bigger than a couple hundred people. That's not enough to take and hold castles. So you have to make alliances by paying them off because only one guild can own the castle. So there's this huge political meta game and that occurs twice a week with these castle sieges. That I know it's very good. I mean, it's very, very powerful. Okay.
Sounds a lot. With Shadowbane is taking a lot from right on that, their town sieges.
Right. Yeah, I actually haven't seen how they work over there, but it works very well in Lineage.
I know you gotta go. One more question, please. The Lineage, do you have any ideas on, if you go to Korea, you have the whole internet cafes. Do you have any idea how to duplicate that over here? I know cafes aren't really popular in the United States. Do you have any idea how to do it online? Like BBS is really popular. There's an online cafe. Nothing duplicates that.
No, in fact, there's a number of reasons why you can have 4 million players in Asia and why you won't have 4 million players in the States in spite of the population differences. And not only is it the cafes, but also has to do with, up until this year, it was illegal to sell PlayStations and Xboxes and Xbox.
They wouldn't have consoles.
So no consoles. They had an import ban on Japanese consoles.
Wow,
And
I had no idea.
If you're playing games in Korea, you're playing on a PC. And now they are selling consoles over there, but they're not doing very well because everybody's already playing on PCs.
Yeah, that's funny.
So there's a couple issues like that.
Just one last question on the tabula rasa. You might have even said this before. Are they going to have like multiple races and
Multiple what?
Multiple races and like skill development or like character customization is what I'm looking
So
for.
there absolutely is character customization.
Okay.
But races is not
Human, basically.
Yeah, human basically.
Okay.
Is, I actually don't want to get too much into the fictional stuff just because it's so tenuous.
Sure.
It's we're not far enough into the actual implementation to know.
Okay.
But
Austin Andrews writes a book,
sorry?
Yeah, Austin Andrews writes a book.
Okay.
Austin Andrews.
Okay.
We've got all his books. He's the best.
I know there's been a lot of criticism about Lineage. Is that hard? I mean,
No, because a lot of it is fair criticism.
Well, it's constructive.
Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, it is a 4-year-old game from Korea, and I have great faith in the fundamentals of that game. It really is at its core a great game. I promise you that. However, I also am well aware of the wrapper of the game, especially when it showed up here a year ago, is coarse. It's not competitive with what we need to have here in the United States. And so that's been our mission now over the last year, and I know we still have work to do for at least another year before we fix that. You saw like the smoother animation, smoother scrolling.
From this summer.
That's one of the bigger issues that people have had. I still think we still have more work to do. The new player experiences, getting people into the place of getting up to customization.
the walking thing.
Exactly.
But
Hey,
Thank you very much.